Hi everyone, and welcome to the Titan project. In this presentation, you know more about the team via the Titan project and the concept as well. Working with Unreal Engine, we'll share ideas of workflow using Epos plugin from Praxinos Studio and talk about new features to come. A character animator, a story artist, and a technical artist active in the animation and video games industry for years now. We had the opportunity to meet each other and work together on several projects, but also sharing a common passion, passing on everything we've learned through stitching. Using real-time in production and graduated projects, we always kept in mind to get strong and original visual storytelling, mastering the art direction, and finding solutions to build a real-time animation pipeline. So we've pushed the challenge forward and created the Titan project. Last January, Epic Games and ArtStation created the virtual production for Storytellers Challenge, and I had the opportunity to be invited to create my short film called The Finish Line in Unreal Engine. It was my very first time using the entire software, and I had a blast using Megascan assets, playing with control rig, and editing with the sequencer. With all this new experience, The Finish Line became the Titan project, and we started the world building and creating a new story.
Titan Concept is a short film codename of a quirky and irreverent hard SF series, whose action takes place essentially in our solar system. We will meet characters trying to find their place in the space conquest, in the new hostile territories, or by playing with expansionist, liberticidal, and security policies of colonialist governments, farmers, settlers, ranchers, water seekers, space truckers, bounty hunters, Trappist monks, DJs, or smugglers. Most of them are mad about freedom, nostalgic for a lost earthly paradise or for a bygone era. The global artistic direction of the series is adapted to characters' mind and point of view, reassuring and nostalgic, with warm and natural color when moments of tranquility and introspection appear. On the other hand, there will be light and saturated artificial colors when action gets high and speed, outrageous and rock and roll. It is not a question here of being completely realistic in the color and the lights, but in this first sequence we will shift the palette a little by using some artificial colors to create a slightly strange climate. This will give the feeling that we are on a terraformed planet. The color of the albedo and of the atmosphere may differ from that of Earth. The further we go in the film, the more the action intensifies, the closer we get to the limit of the terraforming bubbles, and the more saturated and artificial the color will be.
Unreal Engine is a powerful tool which allows us to be more creative and express our ideas more easily. Compared to a traditional animation pipeline, we're getting instant results, high quality in early production, dynamic collaboration, and free access to the software and all the assets that it can provide. In our vision of the workflow, we tend to make the previsualization entirely in Unreal for the Titan project, using Megascan assets and meta-human characters. And Epos came at the right time. We started the beta test since June 2021 and deeply explored the several features. Having the story artist interact directly with the other 3D artists becomes fundamental. So starting Epos in early production brings the gap between 2D and 3D pre-production. But not every story artist are immediately comfortable with 3D software. So we were thinking, how making a story artist keep his spontaneity and his work intuitive when approaching Epos? We aim at the story artist doesn't have to move the physical camera in the 3D space at the first time. So we simply try to recreate the workspace of a story artist in the 2D software. When we establish a sequence in Epos, we position each camera at the origin. Then we make the 3D space disappear, creating a grayscale background color. In that way, the story artist finds his landmarks and can start working using Epos and ILIAD tools. For example, we can draw inside a shot, but there's a lot of information going on. So the story artist can also work outside of the shot with a simple interface where we can still draw, create new drawings, and move those drawings as well, detach the plan if needed, and pilot or not the existing camera. Epos gives you also the possibility to import an entire storyboard in Unreal Engine. Whether on paper or digitally, we start working on a rough storyboard outside of the engine to make it fast and rough up the staging. When the story artist knows how many sequences and shots have been created, the previous artists get the information to create Epos boards and shot sequences in Unreal Engine to anticipate the import of the several thumbnails from the rough storyboard. Like a master sequence can contain a level sequence, in Epos, a board sequence can contain another board sequence, or a shot sequence which can contain itself a camera, planes, and drawings. All the data needed to create a storyboard. In the content browser, each drawing created is a material associated with its only texture, where each of them will match with the several thumbnails exported from the rough storyboard. We give the thumbnail the same name from the drawings in Epos Sequencer. So, we just finally drag and drop all the thumbnails from Titan Rough Storyboard, and there we go. The Titan Rough Storyboard has been entirely imported in the sequencer. As we're getting the advantage of working all together on Titan project file with Unreal, using source control and sublevels, the previous artist can start planning his shots using the rough storyboard, while the story artist starts focusing on the animatic. In Titan, we are playing with frantic cinematography, where folks are driving like crazy in open spaces, scrolling past at full speed. So we want to get a quick preview on how those several shots can work together in a 3D space, using a physical camera, before starting adding 3D assets. We assume the fact that, for this process, the environment is not created yet. So more than a roadmap now, the rough storyboard is used by the previous artist to break down the composition of key shots of the story in several layers, organizing them in the viewport. Let's take the shot of the hummingbird as an example and how we can reproduce the same idea with Epos. So we've separated this single image in 4 layers, and each of them has been attached to a new plane. Now we've moved those planes to create depths and use a hummingbird 3D asset as a reference guide to get a proper scale ratio. The position of the planes will allow the previous artist to place 3D narrative elements of the shot, playing with silhouettes, adding lights to improve the composition and bring new ideas. We finally manipulate the manual focus distance from the physical camera to reproduce the same depth of field from the thumbnail, keeping our hummingbird in focus.
Hello, my name is Kevin Bertelli, technical artist on Titan Project and Unreal Engine authorized instructor for Epic Games. I'm really excited to share with you a first look of how we work on Unreal Engine with Epos. Epos helped us a lot in the making of Project Titan. We had the luxury to go back and forth during the storyboard phase. As you can see, all the planes are already placed directly in the world. This way we can project our vision at the same time with the storyboard artist and previous artist. For this little showcase, we had to go fast, so we used Brushify and Dynamic Sky to have a quick preview of the scene. We also use Bridge from Quixel, which is a really powerful tool to scatter and dress the scene rapidly. With all the tools, we have a really fast preview and we can see if the layout is good, the lighting and the shot in general. Furthermore, we decide to use ray tracing for the shadow and global illumination. We also decide to use DLSS for deep learning super sampling from NVIDIA to have a better frame rate. It was a pleasure to work with Epos and Unreal Engine, and thank you for watching.
One of the great challenges of Epos is to attract professional artists, especially traditional story artists, using 2D software, while adapting and optimizing the workflow in real time. The goal being, for the story artist, not to be hampered by the technique, nor frustrated by the 3D tool with too tedious manipulations. Its creative and narrative energy will continue to excel. The story artist should find the same ergonomic interface that he already knows and usually used in terms of layouts, tools, and icons. Generally speaking, the objective of Epos is to allow velocity in terms of iterations and modifications, vector drawing, shot creation, practical camera movement, timing, sound. Onion skin and light table are the type of tools in development. So many challenges for Epos, which to develop an ideal software we'll have to find the right balance between professional story artist software that allows you to draw on a suitable theme set. We would like to thank the Ottawa International Animation Festival and Praxinos for inviting us and give us this opportunity to present our work. But also thanks all people who supported us during the process of preparing this presentation. So hope you enjoyed it. And now we're ready for the live Q&A. Thanks to everyone.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in on this Tuesday evening. And special thanks to our special guests for tuning in at 1 in the morning, their time over in France, So much appreciated. Thank you so much for joining us North Americans in the audience here. So I'm joined today by Team Titan. So Team Titan put together the video that you all just watched and is here to answer any questions. And I also have Elodie Moog joining as well from Praxinos. So we're here to answer your questions. So we'll dive right in. First question, I believe, was from Brittany. What was your favorite part of the film process? And likewise, what was the hardest part?
Let's say I would say the favorite parts. So just to make sure we're still in pre-production for now, and I think what was really interesting is the idea to match the 2D thumbnails from Christophe VILLEZ with the 3D environment, animating the plants inside Unreal, detaching the plants or detaching just the cars, for example, and make them move inside the space. It's like you really start to see what's going on, and that's working, you know, more than just having I say flat surfaces. You start to really enjoy because you can project what's following, like to say, okay, the car is going to move that way, it's going to go that road, so we can place something there, so we can anticipate the pre-visualization. So with just 2D elements and 3D environments, you can start anticipate the pre-visualization. So that was really fun. And the hardest part, I think, was exactly the same thing. Maybe, I don't know. I think for my part, maybe Kevin, for the idea to associate the two parts, and thinking about the narrative too. What I mean by that is trying to be more, I think, reproduce what Christophe have done and try to respect it, and try to translate. I mean, like you see from the hummingbird, like using the focal length, try to refine the focal length, the type of focal length that we use for the 2D parts, and to separate the elements too. It takes time sometimes, depending on the shots. For my part, it was more that way. I don't know for you guys.
Yeah, it's exactly the same. That it's not. It's like the process is hard, but it's fun. And yeah, you with Unreal you can take a lot of time to change and to change so much. Sometimes that don't need anymore. But yeah, the really good part is to be able to visualize directly what you want to do, and to be able to go back and forth with all the creation team. So it was really really powerful and really enjoyable for us to work this way. And yeah, the thing is, you really have the possibility to change everything every time. So you need to refrain yourself, and you need to have a good vision. That's why this tool is very powerful, and at the same time you can be a bit lost. But that's a really good way to have a good accident. That's can be very hard to have on a more traditional pipeline.
Awesome.
Yeah, and for my part, it's very simple. I always have fun to make a 2D storyboard and animatic, and I'm not a technical guy, so I struggle with always and with Unreal. So I let my body to make that stuff. So
awesome. Great answers. And I just want to add, you're getting some respect in the chat here for staying up so late. So everyone is very appreciative.
No problem.
Excellent. Another question here from the audience. If you could go back and give yourself advice on the program or project, what would you tell yourself?
It's
a good question.
Yeah, really good question. Really good question. I would say be really prepared for the way you collaborate between artists. I think it's really important because this kind of workflow is really dynamic, and you can easily be lost because you play between. I mean, for our part, we try to play between importing storyboards and drawing also as well, and trying to work in parallel. But sometimes it was you realize that you've done something maybe too early, and you have to go back. It's more about iteration. Also, is the way you iterate things. It's not easy, because if you when for example there's a new storyboard coming on, or new thumbnails are coming, just the way to import them and to be sure that is not gonna, I can say, I'm not crush, but change everything. It's like really the collaborative part is really important to anticipate the way you're gonna work together. Like, for example, it's like when one I mean the story artist or one of the previous artists finish one sequence, the environment artist can start working on it. You know, really be organized about that, because it's the kind of process when you go back and forth a lot of time, and there's a moment you can get a mess in the scene. So just to be very aware about that, I think.
I would just like to precise, maybe for the audience, is the fact that Epos is a fairly new project. It's not even released yet. It's just a closed beta test. So these guys did an amazing work, because it's a whole new workflow. And so they did many attempts. I'm sorry that maybe it was sometimes a waste of time, because they had to make many attempts. And really, I thank them a lot for all the work that they did for that. So yeah, that's a whole new pipeline they worked on.
But I think it's the game.
Yes.
Do you want to say something, Kevin?
Just wanted to add about the world building. For if you want to be prepared with all these tools, with Epos and the possibility to really iterate, like say Larson, you need to be really prepared on the concept part and the world building and everything as a whole, like a universe, not like just for a shot. And because you will be able to change and to move your camera. It's a bit different than traditional 3D animation, because you have really a frame, like a painting. But this time is you can change the painting really fast. So you have a bit more how to say possibilities. Yeah.
Flexibility.
And that's why, yeah, world building and a meaning for an environment artist is really important for this type of project. It's like more like a video game approach for making background. So that's a new way for guys coming from animation, but not really, because we are used to. But it's just the real time is really a nice change in our world.
You have to think post-production in pre-production. in when it comes in real time engines like Unreal.
Yeah, and this is where you can maybe go sometime too far, because you can go in detail in pre-production with Unreal. You can have high quality just in previews, and sometimes you can go stay and say, okay, I'm going to push it, just to remind that it's just ideas that you're putting, and the idea
it's like a look viz. Sometimes I call it look viz, like it's a mix of previs and look dev, because you are not so far from look development and previs at the same time. Sorry, Larson.
No, it's okay. That was the right answer.
Kevin, you had kind of touched on this, but one of the questions from the audience here is, did your interest in animation start with video games or vice versa?
I started in animation, and I work in advertising and animated TV show.
Okay.
And for one animated TV show, I made it inside video game companies, and I see that what they were capable in real time with Unity and that was the spark that led me to be interested in real time and to create a company to work with Unreal after.
What about the others? What about you, Christophe? Did you start off video games or animation?
I started in animation, and after I worked for about 12 years on video games. Yeah.
Okay. And how about you, Larson?
Yeah. Animation too. Started with let's say commercial series, feature films, and same way it does a moment. I mean, in parallel, like I love video games, playing all the time, and
too much
maybe, yeah. and I think that I met Kevin in the year 2013, and it was when he started to say, okay, real time is the future, and I said, okay. I follow. And we had the opportunity to work together on some short projects about that. We even have the opportunity to work on a trailer for a pilot for a series about real time. But we can mention the project, but it was, for my part, what was really exciting was we were animating in Maya. And just after that, we were importing the animation in Unreal, and we were seeing the characters moving straight away with rendering. And you know that when you're in the animation industry as an animator, most of the time the results, you see your shots when you saw them on TV or go to the movie, and sometimes you realize that, oh, if I knew, I would have maybe pushed my animation, or So it's not all the time that you can get an instant result, and this is the real difference with Unreal. So that's why we started more working on this and focusing on that. But yeah, starting from the animation industry.
And with all the CFX on characters like clothes and hair and fur, you have the best possibility for an animator to see how he reacts. And and Larson, he said that we work on a pilot, but it was on a virtual reality series in 2015. So it was maybe too early. So, but
well, actually, I think there is no such a difference now between animation and live film production and even video games, because you can see they are borrowing codes of each other. For instance, for a moment, the video games came to become more narrative. And so for the cutscenes, you would see how they would frame the characters and the environment to look like it's a movie. And now it's even the contrary now, because you can see in movies, and especially in TV series, where you can see the same narrative scheme that you would find in video games. For instance, I think of The Mandalorian, where the characters come into scene, there is a dialogue, then there is an action scene, then they figure out the issue and they can fix it. And you have really the same narrative scheme that you could find in video games. And I find this really amazing how all these environments can fit together now, especially both in the storytelling and in the tools they're used.
And what struck me is that the vocabulary is becoming the same for every industry, and it's really a good thing, because when I was working on animation, I was not be able to understand everything that a DP or a director of photography was saying on the set, because we don't have the same language. But now we can almost understand each other, and it's really, really nice. And it's touching every industry, like cinema, video game, architectures, and a lot. And it's very, very interesting for everyone, I think.
Yeah, these are really interesting points. I really like that. It kind of ties into another question that came in from the audience here. Someone's asking, what advantages does using Unreal have over more traditional means of storytelling in filmmaking?
First thing I would say, you can reunite, if it's the right word, people who most of the time don't communicate each other. The story artist most of the time in the industry, you know that he's there, you know that he's working, but you don't really communicate with him. And what's
as a layout, as a previous artist, you say you are
and
as an animator, for example.
Even as an animator, you can have questions, and you could share things with him. And most of the time, when you come in a production, maybe he left already, or he's not really there, and the communication is like you have what you get, and you need to work with it. But now, what is interesting is, like with Epos, even the story artist, I think, and Christophe can talk about it.
It's organic. It's organic.
It's organic, yeah, exactly. And he knows how his storyboard is going to become, and he can even himself iterate on it, and we can have a real communication about that. So we work really together. And I think this is the real difference, because you don't separate the departments, and it's more a dynamic, organic, like you said, Kevin, work, and more interesting for now.
And I want to add that for my part, because I'm a technical artist, but I was a lighter and supervisor in lighting. The thing really different for this part and for the compositing too is you can work at the same time as an animator. So the animator will be able to see the lights at the same time he's animating, and it's really something when you are working like that, because it's almost like live set, like on a seat with an actor, and it's changed everything. For making, and just that the spontaneity, sorry.
Spontaneity, yeah.
Yeah. I was almost. I'm a bit tired. Sorry.
Okay.
Is really awesome for I think for everyone, for director, for even the artist and
especially for director, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit what we've said. Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Okay, it's just a bit what we said at the end. It's like to imagine a storyboard artist on a film set, like he's drawing, and there's the things are going on, and he can just communicate right now and say, no, this is not exactly what I was thinking about. And also you can move stuff, and you can share things with him, thoughts with him, and and change things as if necessary, because I think even if the idea comes from the vision, comes from the director. But there's, I mean, the story artist has his own vision too, and it's really interesting to be sure to know what he has in mind and to reproduce it in Unreal, and he can see it himself and even tweak some camera.
See that it's not working too. Like there is a technical, yeah. Sometimes they write or board something that is not possible with the scope of the project, and it's good to include everyone, because they will see that that's the we don't. That's not that we don't want to do it. That's like we can't. We just can't.
It's good to know the contract.
Yeah.
Of Unreal,
yeah, exactly. It's like oh, I don't have the. It's an example for we are. I think it was worth our common project where they were asking. There's a moment they were asking, but it was more for the scenario. But it's the same idea. This is the kind of people, you don't see them, you just see the results, and it's hard to communicate with them. Not because they don't want or whatever, it's just that way. And there's a moment there was an idea coming, and I was supervising a series, and they said, the little boy is doing his les lacets.
The threads on the shoes.
Exactly. So yeah, the boy is doing that, and after he's leaving, and doing this in 3D is a mess. It's like just this shot costs so much money, and they don't realize it. For them, it's like wow, okay, but for us, it's like horrible. So this is the kind of thing that they don't know the techniques, the constraints, and the more you communicate together, and the more the faster you can iterate this. Yeah, exactly.
I think in traditional pipelines, it's more linear, and you don't really have it. Yeah, it's really linear. So every steps is really
waterfall
into a case. Yes, yeah, that's it. You can't really go backward if you realize there is something wrong, and usually you have to do with what you have, and that's okay. This scene is not good, but we can't go backward because we don't have the time and the money for that. And I think with real-time technologies, you have more an iterative way to work. It's more agile. You have more possibilities to build scenes and the story step by step with tiny elements at the same time.
It's also what you were talking about, Kevin, about the fur, because in animation, for example, you have the mesh of the character, and you have another one on it to simulate the fur, but you don't really know if it's going to work or not. So you animate and you make sure that there's no collision or whatever. But after, when they simulate, they realize that sometimes it doesn't work, so you need to come back and try again. But when you see the kind of project like the meerkat from Unreal, you realize that as you animate the meerkat, you always see the fur of the meerkat, so you know where can be the limit straight away. So it means there's a step that you can skip, and to even facilitate the work of the fur artist, I would say. So this is the kind of thing that's really powerful with Unreal.
Very cool. This ties in really nicely with another question that we had coming in from the audience, and it's about how you organize multiple artists working at once. So the question is, how do you organize multiple artists working at once? You have a source control system, but do you have to prevent one artist from working on the same thing another artist is changing? Or does someone assign the work to different artists outside of the system?
So we work with a subversion with Perforce from Helix software. So we add a lock file system with a checkout. When someone is working on an asset, it's locked until it's It's checking by, because it's the safest way to work on Perforce. We didn't have the need for now to have a more short track manager like Shot Grid or Kitsu, for example. But we are really interested to be able to work with that, because I think that's the only thing that Unreal needs now, because all the asset versioning, asset tracking, it's really well done because it's coming from video games. So it's like we don't have that on animation by default, and that's a shame. I want to say, but yeah, I don't know why we didn't have that on Maya for like 10 years ago, but directly inside. Yeah, so we work on Perforce, not on Git, or because Perforce is really is better for a large file, and for when you are programming, Git is very cool, and I know that the Git LFS for large file system, it's good too, but Perforce is really
GitHub is limited to something like 1 or 2 gigabytes, and on Unreal Engine, when you have a U project, it can be really large, so it's not enough.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, it was Perforce with a checkout and unlock file for everyone, and that's all.
But yeah, and I think
we work with sub-level. Sorry, we work with we separate all the level to be able to work on, and it's like in video game when you have for example a level, the level in himself will be empty, but it will split with lighting, VFX, camera, animation, and sometimes you can just split for like for the sequence, the lighting, and the guy or the person working on it, and you will be able to in sequencer to load the level for each sequence and for each people working on this specific sequence if you want to.
Cool. And in terms of communication, how do you keep track of questions between artists? Are you doing that externally, or are you doing that internally? Like, are you sending emails and texts and stuff like that, or is that happening internally?
Discord.
Yeah. Let's say Discord. We have Discord. Yeah, clearly, clearly, it's more dynamic. Yeah, no, email that takes too much time, and even call. Yeah. Simply for now, like more some reviews together. And so yeah, reviews, Discord. It's more, I mean, Discord, like as we work, we're connected, and so as we know that we're on the same scene, project or level, so we can chat at the same time. So this is for now, because for now we're in a small team for the moment. But after, yeah, there's, like said Kevin, we have later we work with some software that will help us, say, more communicate. But we have channels too, like, I mean, in a project where, yeah, same idea. So we have several channels depending, like for the pre-production, even the pre-visualization, animation, lighting, and so we had comments inside. Yeah, we try to keep the same idea that Unreal, stay more dynamic, in the communication. So it's yeah, this is the idea.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Question coming in from the audience. Can you use game system features to move characters like a puppet, or are you manually animating everything in every frame?
You can do both if you want. For example, you can keyframing the characters, but all the crowd, maybe one guy in the crowd can be like a gamepad controlled and record for the shot if you want to. Yeah, it's if you want to have for example for a virtual production approach, you can have this system like someone is with a gamepad okay, go, and is running in the background and activate some event if you want. It's possible, or you can record everything. But yeah, we come from animation, and it's really better to have a keyframe than a character controlled by blend space, and even if the blend space is really nice and all the blend is good, I think Larson can say better than me because he's an animator. But
yeah, for sure. For the animation, just to master every detail, because even with we animate a car, the car has a personality because there are people in the car. So the way the character is going to drive can be special. So there's a moment that you can't just count on gameplay for that. But what is interesting is more for visualization. Sorry, this is the kind of thing we're thinking about. Where as we create car chase, we were thinking about using, the physics part of Unreal. Like, say, okay, we have a gamepad, and we really have we know where the cars are going, from one point to another, and we can try for the first pass. So just really use gamepad and make them drive like fast, just to give an idea of how it could work. After that, we can see if we keep this or if we start to go more in detail and start animating. But I think gameplay can be really, really useful. I would say for visualization for sure, but even for production, we were talking about it, like every kind of trigger. For example, this is the kind of thing we're thinking about where, I don't know, I would say an example where you have a character coming in the village and someone's coming out to say, hey, hello, how are you? So you're doing this in the shot. The problem is the director's coming and say, oh, no, I would like my characters come faster in the village. So the problem is you have to change the animation of the character coming and say hello. But if you use a trigger, the trigger will not change. Like, even the character coming faster, the trigger will activate the moment you ask. So it doesn't change the animation, it doesn't change anything. And I think this is the kind of thing that can be really interesting to use in pre-production or in production for animation, short film, or whatever.
This is great. I feel like I'm learning so much. I didn't know any of this. So I'm like, the tech side of things is pretty new to me still. So this is excellent. I feel like I'm learning a lot.
That's cool.
Speaking of learning, we had a question come in and they're asking, what was the learning curve like when adding this tech to your workflow? And I'm assuming they're talking about the Epos element. Was it a big learning curve to add that element into it?
Yep. I would say it was really, when we started talking about the project or even starting drawing, the beta test came really at the right time, because this is the kind of we were thinking about the workflow and say, okay, how we can integrate the storyboard, how we can make sure that even Christophe be involved in Unreal. And when we saw Epos, we say, whoa, this is exactly what we wanted. So this is perfect, let's go. And so we tested it for sure. And I think the idea is that, like said Elodie, she told us that they want to bring story artists to the software, and which is really cool. But for that, this is what is important, is that the story artist finds his marks, his landmarks, like in the 2D software. And we tried to find a balance between that at the beginning, because it's not. I think ILIAD. You tell me, Elodie. ILIAD is a plugin to paint on it's a texture painting.
Yes, it's a texture plugin. It's a plugin to create textures and create brushes, so you can have different kind of renderings, such as, I don't know, watercolor or gouache or a painting tool, crayons and everything. So ILIAD manages everything related to the drawing itself, while Epos is there to manage more the structure of the storyboard, both in space and time.
And that's why when we start using ILIAD, it was really interesting, but we knew that it was not yet made, like the interface was not made for a story artist. So we're trying to find a balance between that as fast as possible. But what was really cool was to say, okay, we can import storyboard really fast, and this is what really interesting, and play with it and retime straight away in Unreal. So I think it's more the idea to work quick, find the balance between that, because like said Kevin, Unreal is really interesting, but you can really be lost playing with the software. So the idea was to really to keep the spontaneity of Christophe, let's say, velocity on his work, and be sure to be more reactive also. So the most important was to find the best of Epos. Like we said, what was interesting is like you can put a first pass on importing your board, and after that you can create other shots and complete with ILIAD if you need to. Okay, for example, and or we were overthinking about Drover, because you can even use Epos for that, or an ILIAD for that, like communicating, like Christophe can come and say, oh, okay, be careful here, there's a focal, or there's a depth of field, or there's a camera movement that you have to be aware of. So yeah, I would say it was a back and forth. Sometimes we were blocked also, but this is the game. This is the game for the beta tests. So
and thank you for playing.
yeah, for sure, no problem. And
I think trying ILIAD and Epos just like this is not really complicated in itself. What requires to think and to work is to actually use both plugins within a workflow. It's not really just to use and do a few sketches. It's okay. It's not that complicated to understand, but it's to really integrate those plugins into a new pipeline. And since everything is new and there's no, you can't really compare to what exists. So you have to, okay, so let's create something new and let's create a new pipeline. And I think that was the most complicated part of the job.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. And this kind of ties in nicely with what will probably be one of our last questions. What is something you learned in this project that you will bring to your next project?
I love your faces, guys.
Questions for 2 a.m.
Yeah.
That's yeah. Wow. I would say, for my part,
Epos. That's the thing. The first thing is Epos and ILIAD, and to work with plane and trying to for my part, it was like having a board and working with it. It's new for me. It's like I never before. I work after the animation. So it's really interesting to be able to make environment just after the storyboard phase. That's really new, and I learn a lot because I have to project myself way more, and it's interesting.
For me, I think it's starting a project with a beta test plugin. What happened is that we tested it, but like with small parts, we were drawing, testing tools, asking questions. So thing was working, Sometimes not, but like, okay, it's coming, the tool will be built. But the idea is really different when you just test it, but independently for a story that you have to create, and when you start really being the process of telling a story. Because the way you work, the way you iterate, the way you you share thoughts, make that you use the soft differently and more in a global way. So, and this is where you start to really see the powerful parts and the problematic. So I think for the next project, the idea is to go straight away in the software, and for example, and start really say, okay, if we give us the software and we have to make a storyboard with it, okay, let's go, let's do it, you know. And just to be sure to just to be sure to know exactly which part we're going to use going to be useful for us, and which part we're going to just go to put to the side, to be sure to keep this dynamic in a way.
That's great. Yeah, I'm gonna let you guys go to bed soon.
Sorry, Stephanie, I just want to say just a very quick words, just to say again a huge thank you to Christophe, Kevin, and Larson, because they are from far the most active beta tester we had in the beta test program. We're still looking for new beta testers, but really thank you guys for the job you did. We learned a lot with you, because you made so many great feedback on the tool that it evolved a lot thanks to you. And so thank you for all the work you did for that. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you. Exactly. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, but we think Epos is going to be a powerful tool. Epos is going to be a powerful tool because it's gonna help. And like I said, bring people together, people that don't really communicate. And it's not easy to bring 2D software in a 3D, in a 2D tool in a 3D software. Blender did it, for example. It works, but for now it's not really used. Maybe in how can I say, in the industry, I think it starts maybe, but it takes time. So, and it's totally different because Unreal is another philosophy. The real-time philosophy is totally different. And I think this is what also is really important, is that you can, using Epos can be easy, but you need to have the philosophy also on Unreal. And I think you can't, it's really important to have this in mind, because Unreal is really, it sounds easy, but when you start working on it, it can be, exactly, it can blow your mind. So I think with the time we'll start to see these projects in the industry. So we just take the time.
Very cool. And there were some questions that I didn't get to just because of time constraints. Elodie, if people have questions for you about
Discord, they can join us on Discord.
Perfect. Okay, great. Do you have the link? Can I post the
join
link?
Praxinos website and you find the Discord link.
Maybe I'll post that with the in the VOD section. I'll include the link.
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
We'll do that. Great. Thank you all so much. I'll let you go to sleep now.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Chatting with you all.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Same thing. Okay, see you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.